The Galactic Consul chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and glass that orbited a dead moon. Inside, representatives from 847 species gathered for their quarterly meeting. The chamber was enormous, with seats rising in circular tiers that reached toward the domed ceiling. Holographic displays flickered everywhere, translating thousands of languages simultaneously. Ambassador Tay sat in the human section, his hands folded calmly on the desk before him. He wore a simple black suit, nothing fancy or decorated. His face showed no emotion as he watched the other species talk and argue. Next to him sat Captain Hai, a woman with short gray hair and a scar running down her left cheek. She wore her military uniform with pride, though her expression remained stern and watchful. The current debate had been going on for 3 hours. Earth had requested protected status for their home system. It was a simple request, really. Humanity just wanted to be left alone to develop in peace. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 50 years ago, which made them babies compared to most species in the Consul. Some civilizations had been traveling the stars for millions of years. At the center of the chamber stood Consul Primar Vexthor, a massive reptilian creature with green scales and yellow eyes. He was over 3 meters tall, and his voice boomed through the speakers. "Protected status?" he said, laughing. "For what reason should we grant this primitive species such privilege? They have nothing to offer. Their technology is outdated. Their weapons are toys compared to ours." Scattered laughter echoed through the chamber. Tay did not react. He simply waited. Senator Krillnax rose from his seat. He was an insectoid creature, all chittering mandibles and multifaceted eyes. His species had a reputation for consuming other civilizations, literally and figuratively. "I propose an alternative," Krillnax said, his voice clicking and buzzing. "Earth should be designated a resource harvest zone. The planet has remarkable biodiversity. The genetic material alone would be worth trillions of credits. The humans can be relocated to a suitable colony world." More laughter, more agreement. Tay watched as various representatives nodded their heads or whatever appendages they used for agreement. Captain Hai's jaw tightened, but she remained silent. They had discussed this possibility before coming here. Finally, Consul Primar Vexthor called for order. "Does the human delegation wish to respond to these proposals?" Tay stood slowly. The chamber fell quiet, curious to hear what this primitive species would say. He walked to the central platform, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. "We came here today with a simple request," Tay said. "We ask that you leave Earth alone. We asked for protected status not because we are weak, but because we value peace. We have studied your histories. We know that war is common in the galaxy. We know that stronger species often consume weaker ones. We understand how things work out here." He paused, looking around at the hundreds of alien faces staring at him. "But we also want you to understand something," Tay continued. "We are asking nicely. We are following your protocols and your laws. We are being respectful and diplomatic. However, if you choose to ignore our request, if you choose to threaten Earth or humanity, you will regret it. This is not a threat. This is a simple warning. Do not interfere with Earth. We will defend our home." The chamber erupted. Some species laughed openly. Others whispered among themselves. Vexthor's laughter was loudest of all. "Defend?" he roared. "With what? Your primitive nuclear weapons? Your slow ships? Your emotional instability? Child species always think they are special. You are not. You are one world against 847 civilizations. You are nothing." Captain Hai stood and joined Tay at the platform. She looked out at the assembled aliens with cold eyes. "You have been warned," she said quietly. "What happens next is your choice, not ours. Remember that." The vote was called. The holographic displays lit up as each species registered their decision. Tay and Hai watched the numbers climb. 734 species voted to remove Earth's protected status application. 113 voted against it. Earth's request was denied. Consul Primar Vexthor smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "The decision is made. Earth will be surveyed for resource potential within the next standard cycle. If the human species resists, they will be removed by force. This session is adjourned." Tay and Hai walked out of the chamber without saying another word. They did not look angry or scared. They simply left. As they boarded their small diplomatic shuttle, several species representatives watched them go. One of them, an ancient being called High Counselor Dren, shook his head slowly. Fools, Dren muttered to himself. They have no idea what they just did. His aide, a younger member of his species, looked confused. Counselor, the humans are primitive. They cannot possibly stand against the Consul. Dren turned to his aide with sad eyes. I have lived for 3,000 years. I have seen many species rise and fall. I have learned to recognize certain patterns. Those humans did not come here to beg. They came here to deliver a warning. And when predators warn you, it is because they know something you do not. What could they possibly know? The aide asked. How dangerous they truly are, Dren replied. Back in the consul chamber, 3 fleet masters gathered in a private room. They represented different species, but they all had the same interest. Resources, power, territory. Vexthor was there, along with Quinthar and Reknar, fleet masters of considerable reputation. Earth will fall within a week, Quinthar said confidently. My fleet alone could level their cities in days. We should move quickly, Reknar added, before other species claim the best resources. Vexthor nodded. 3 fleets should be sufficient. We will show these humans what happens when primitive species challenge the consul. Prepare your ships. We leave within the month. The meeting ended. Orders were sent. 3 massive fleets began preparations for the journey to Earth's solar system. Each fleet contained over 200 warships. They had conquered hundreds of worlds before. They expected Earth to be no different. On their shuttle back to human space, Captain High looked at Ambassador Tay. They are coming, she said. You know that, right? I know, Tay replied. Are we ready? We have been ready for 30 years, High. The question is whether they are ready for what comes next. They laughed at us, High said, touching the scar on her face. They mocked us. They did, Tay agreed. And now they will learn why humanity spent 50 years preparing for this moment. They think we have been exploring the galaxy. They think we have been learning their technology. They have no idea what we have actually been doing. Building, High said quietly. Building, Tay confirmed. And now they will see what humans build when they know war is coming. The shuttle entered faster than light travel, streaking toward Earth. Behind them, the consul celebrated their easy victory over the primitive humans. They had no idea that everything was about to change. They had been warned, but they did not listen. That was their first mistake. It would not be their last. 3 months had passed since the consul meeting. 3 massive fleets now approached the edge of Earth's solar system. Fleetmaster Quinthar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue and green planet appear on his view screen. He felt satisfied. This would be an easy conquest. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. 643 vessels in total formation. Weapons charged, shields active. Quinthar nodded. Scan the system for military presence. The sensors swept through space. Minutes passed. The tactical officer looked confused. Fleetmaster, we detect minimal military activity. There are some orbital stations around the 3rd planet. Small patrol craft. Nothing significant. Most of what we see appears to be civilian traffic. Civilian? Quinthar asked, surprised. Where is their military fleet? We cannot locate it, sir. Perhaps they do not have one. Quinthar laughed. The other officers on the bridge joined in. They warned us not to come, but they have no fleet to defend themselves. These humans are either very stupid or very insane. On Earth, Admiral Bow stood in the command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The room was dark except for the dozens of holographic displays floating in the air. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray hair tied back in a tight bun. Around her, hundreds of officers worked at their stations, monitoring every ship in the solar system. Admiral, the consul fleets have crossed the boundary marker, an officer reported. They are scanning for our military assets. Let them scan, Admiral Bow said calmly. Technician Na, status of the grid? A young woman looked up from her console. The quantum entanglement grid is fully active, Admiral. All 643 enemy vessels are now connected. They do not know it yet. Admiral Bow smiled slightly. Good. Let us see what they do next. Back in space, Fleetmaster Quinthar sent a message toward Earth. It was broadcast on all human frequencies. Humans of Earth, this is Fleetmaster Quinthar of the Galactic Consul. You have been designated a resource harvest zone. You have 24 hours to surrender unconditionally. Evacuate your orbital stations and prepare for processing. If you resist, we will bombard your cities until you comply. You have been warned. The message ended. Quinthar waited for a response. It came within minutes. A single word transmitted from Earth's surface. No, that was all. Just one word. Quinthar felt anger rise in his chest. These primitives dare refuse? Target their moonbase. Fire a warning shot. Show them we are serious. 3 ships moved forward and fired their main weapons at the human base on Earth's moon. The energy beams crossed space and struck the base's shields. The shields held, but the message was clear. The consul was not bluffing. Then something impossible happened. Every ship in the consul fleet suddenly went dark. Engines died. Weapons powered down. Life support systems switched to emergency backup. The bridge lights on Quinthar's flagship flickered and died, replaced by dim red emergency lighting. "What is happening?" Quinthar shouted. "Report!" The tactical officer frantically worked his controls, but nothing responded. "All systems are offline, Fleet Master." "Not just us. I am receiving emergency signals from every ship in the fleet. Everyone is dead in space." "Impossible! We were not attacked!" "How can all 600 ships lose power simultaneously?" On Earth, Dr. Sung stood next to Admiral Bo watching the displays. He was an old man with white hair and tired eyes. He had spent 20 years developing the technology that was now deployed across the solar system. "The quantum entanglement field is working perfectly," Dr. Sung said. "Every enemy ship's power system is now linked to our control network. They cannot restore power without our permission." "How long until they figure out what happened?" Admiral Bo asked. "They will never figure it out," Dr. Sung replied. "To them it will look like their ships just stopped working. They do not have the scientific understanding to detect quantum entanglement manipulation. This technology is at least 3,000 years beyond their current level." Admiral Bo touched a control. Her face appeared on every view screen in every console ship. 643 ships, thousands of crew members all saw her at once. "Fleetmaster Quinthar," Admiral Bo said, her voice calm and professional. "My name is Admiral Bo of the Earth Defense Command. You were warned not to come here. Ambassador Tay told your consul clearly. Captain Hai told you clearly. Do not interfere with Earth. You did not listen." On his darkened bridge, Quinthar stared at the human woman on his screen. "What have you done to our ships?" he demanded. "We have taken control," Admiral Bo replied simply. "Every vessel in your fleet is now connected to our defensive grid. Your engines will not start. Your weapons will not fire. Your shields will not activate. You are prisoners inside your own ships. We did this without firing a single shot. Do you understand now why we warned you?" Quinthar felt fear for the first time in his long military career. "This is impossible. Our technology is superior. Our ships are the most advanced in the galaxy." "No," Admiral Bo corrected him. "They were. But you made a mistake. You thought that because we only recently discovered faster-than-light travel, we must be primitive in all areas. You assumed we had nothing special. You were wrong." Technician Na worked her console and new information appeared on Quinthar's screen. "What you are seeing now is a demonstration," Admiral Bo continued. "We are accessing your weapon systems. Watch." The weapons on Quinthar's flagship powered up without anyone touching the controls. They aimed at empty space and fired a single shot. Then they powered back down. "We can control everything," Admiral Bo said. "We can make your ships fire on each other. We can vent your atmosphere. We can overload your reactors. We have complete control, but we will not do these things." "Do you know why?" Quinthar said nothing. He was too shocked to speak. "Because we are not monsters." Admiral Bo answered her own question. "We did not want this fight. We asked to be left alone. You came here anyway. You threatened our home. You threatened our families. And now you are learning what happens when you corner a predator." She leaned forward slightly. "Here is what will happen next. You have 1 hour to make a choice. You can leave our solar system immediately. We will release your ships at the boundary. You will return to the consul and tell them exactly what happened here. Tell them that Earth defended itself without violence. Tell them that we could have destroyed all of you but chose mercy instead. Tell them that our warning was real. And if we refuse?" Quinthar asked, finding his voice again. "Then we will destroy every ship in your fleet," Admiral Bo said flatly. "We will not enjoy it. We will not celebrate it. But we will do it to protect our home. The choice is yours. You have 1 hour." The screen went dark. Quinthar stood in his emergency-lit bridge, surrounded by his useless controls and frightened crew. He looked at his officers. They looked back at him, waiting for orders. "Fleet Master," his tactical officer said quietly. "What do we do?" Quinthar thought about his proud fleet. He thought about the hundreds of worlds he had conquered. He thought about the consul's reaction when he returned with this story. He thought about his crew who trusted him to keep them alive. "We leave," he said finally. "Transmit to all ships. We are accepting the human terms. We will withdraw." Exactly 1 hour later, power returned to the consul fleet. Engines came online. Navigation systems activated. The ships turned slowly and began moving toward the edge of the solar system. Not one of them fired a weapon. Not one of them attempted to resist. Admiral Bo watched them go. Dr. Sung stood beside her. "They will tell the consul," Dr. Sung said. "This is not over." "I know," Admiral Bo replied. "This was just the beginning. But now the galaxy knows. Earth can defend itself. We gave them a choice and they chose to leave. Some of them will remember that. Some of them will learn from it. And the others?" Dr. Sung asked. "The others will come back," Admiral Bo said. "And when they do, we will be ready." The consul fleet crossed the boundary and engaged their faster-than-light drives. They fled toward home, carrying news that would change the galaxy forever. Earth had defended itself without firing a shot. Humanity had technology that should not exist. The primitive species had become something else entirely, and they had been warned. The Galactic Consul chamber was in chaos. Fleet Master Quinthar had returned with his fleet intact but humiliated. His report spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Earth, the primitive world that everyone had laughed at, had disabled 600 warships without firing a single shot. Species that had existed for millions of years suddenly felt very uncertain about their place in the universe. Consul Primar Vexthor stood at the center of the chamber, his scales darker than usual with rage. "This is unacceptable," he roared. "We are the Galactic Consul. We have maintained order in this galaxy for 10 million years. We cannot allow one primitive species to defy us." High Counselor Dren sat in his seat, watching the chaos with ancient eyes. He had lived for 3,000 years and he had seen this pattern before. Pride always came before destruction. He had voted against attacking Earth. He had warned them. Nobody had listened. "What do you propose, Consul Primer?" another representative asked. "We sent 3 fleets. They were defeated without a battle. How do we respond to technology we do not understand?" Vexthor slammed his massive fist on his podium. "We respond with overwhelming force. We sent 3 fleets. Next time we send 30. We send 300 if necessary. We have thousands of species in the Consul. The humans are one world. Mathematics alone guarantees our victory." "Does it?" High Counselor Dren asked quietly. His voice was soft, but it carried through the chamber. Everyone turned to look at him. "Fleet Master Quinthar, please tell the consul exactly what happened." Quinthar stepped forward. He looked ashamed, but he told the truth. "We arrived at Earth's solar system. We detected minimal military presence. We sent an ultimatum. They refused. We fired a warning shot at their moon base. Then all 643 of our ships lost power simultaneously. Every system went dark. The humans did not fire a single weapon at us. How is that possible?" a representative demanded. "We do not know," Quinthar admitted. "Their admiral appeared on our screens and told us they had taken complete control of our ships. She demonstrated by firing our own weapons without our input. She said they could destroy us any time they wanted. Then she gave us a choice: leave peacefully or be destroyed. We chose to leave." The chamber erupted in argument. Some species called it a trick. Others called it impossible. A few, like High Counselor Dren, remained silent and thoughtful. The chamber doors opened. Everyone fell silent. Ambassador Tay walked in, alone and uninvited. He wore the same simple black suit. His expression was neutral. He walked to the center platform as if he had every right to be there. "This is a closed emergency session," Vexthor shouted. "You are not authorized to be here." "I am aware," Tay said calmly. "I came anyway." "You should listen to what I have to say." "Guards," Vexthor called. "Remove this human." Tay touched a device on his wrist. Suddenly, every holographic display in the chamber changed. They showed files, documents, communications, thousands of them. "Before you remove me," Tay said, "you should know what you are looking at. These are consul communications from the past 50 years. Every message, every secret meeting, every private conversation." The chamber went completely silent. We have been monitoring all of your communications since the day we discovered faster-than-light travel. Tay continued. We did not trust the consul. We knew that appearing as a new species would make us targets. So we listened, we learned, and we discovered some very disturbing things. He gestured at the displays. 17 species in this chamber have planned to enslave humanity. 23 species discussed genociding us to take our resources. 41 species debated whether to experiment on humans for genetic research. Should I continue? No one spoke. Tay walked slowly around the central platform, looking at the assembled species. We came to you in peace. We asked for one simple thing. Leave us alone. We were not asking for your protection. We were not asking for your charity. We were simply asking that you not attack us. And what did you do? He pointed at Vexthor. You laughed. You mocked us. You voted to designate Earth as a resource harvest zone. Then you sent 3 fleets to invade our home. You started this war, not us. A holographic figure appeared next to Tay. It was General Kai, a stern-looking woman in military uniform. I am General Key, Chief Military Strategist for Earth Defense Command, she said. While Ambassador Tay explains our political position, I will explain our military position. Please direct your attention to the displays. The screens changed. They showed real-time images of every console homeworld. On each world, small objects orbited in space. They looked like simple satellites. What you are seeing are defense platforms, General Key explained. We placed them in orbit around every console homeworld approximately 30 years ago. They have been there this entire time. You never detected them. Panic spread through the chamber. Representatives frantically contacted their home governments. The confirmation came back quickly. Yes, the satellites were real. Yes, they were in orbit. No, they had never been detected before. These platforms contain the same technology that disabled your fleet at Earth. General Kai continued. They went active the moment your ships entered our solar system. Right now, this very second, we can disable every ship, every station, every defense grid in console space. We can shut down your entire civilization with the press of a button. Another figure appeared. Commander Yun, a thin man with cold eyes. I am Commander Yun, Intelligence Operations. For those who doubt General Key's words, let me provide a demonstration. The display showed the interior of Consul Primar Vexthor's personal throne room on his homeworld. The image was current, real-time. His servants moved around the empty room, unaware they were being watched. Vexthor's face turned pale. His private chambers were supposed to be the most secure location in his empire. We can see everything, Commander Yun said simply. Every world, every ship, every room. We have been watching you for decades. High Counselor Dren finally stood. The ancient being looked tired. I tried to warn you, he said to the chamber. I voted against attacking Earth. I told you that humans were different. You did not listen. Now we face the consequences of our arrogance. He turned to Ambassador Tay. What does Earth want? What we always wanted, Tay replied. To be left alone. But now we know we cannot trust the Consul to keep peace. So we are making new rules. Leave Earth and all human territories alone, or we will activate our defense platforms. Every Consul world will become a prison like your fleet experienced. Your ships will not fly. Your power will not flow. Your civilization will stop. This is tyranny, Vexthor shouted. You cannot threaten the entire galaxy. We are not threatening anyone, Tay corrected. We are defending ourselves. There is a difference. If you leave us alone, nothing will happen. We will never activate the platforms. We will never attack you. We will simply exist in peace. The choice is entirely yours. General Key stepped forward. However, we are not naive. We know some of you will not accept these terms. We know some of you will attempt to attack us again. So let me be very clear. If any species attacks Earth or human territory, we will respond. Not with defense platforms, not with fleet battles. We will come to your homeworld, and we will end your civilization's ability to make war. We will not commit genocide. We will not destroy your people. but we will ensure you can never threaten anyone again." The chamber descended into chaos once more. Some species began arguing for peace. Others demanded war. The consul was fracturing before everyone's eyes. Millennia of unified galactic governance were crumbling because one species had refused to be a victim. Ambassador Tay watched the chaos calmly. He had expected this reaction. "You have one standard month to decide," he announced. "Species that wish to maintain peaceful relations with Earth should contact our embassy. Species that wish to remain hostile should prepare accordingly. We will not attack first, but we will finish any fight that you start." He turned and walked toward the exit. Before he left, he paused and looked back. "You were warned. Multiple times. You chose not to listen. Now you must live with the consequences of your choice. I hope for your sake that you choose peace. But if you choose war, we are ready." The doors closed behind him. The consul chamber erupted in shouting. Species that had been allies for millions of years suddenly turned on each other. Some blamed Vexthor for starting this crisis. Others blamed those who had voted against protecting Earth. A few wise ones, like High Counselor Dren, began planning for a new reality where humanity held all the power. In a hidden location far from the consul chamber, Vexthor met secretly with 88 other species representatives. They were the most aggressive civilizations in the galaxy. They refused to bow to human threats. "We will assemble a coalition army," Vexthor said. "Every species will contribute ships. We will attack Earth with overwhelming numbers. The humans may have disabled 3 fleets, but they cannot stop 3,000 fleets. We will crush them and take their technology." The others agreed. Plans were made. Orders were sent. In dark space, far from prying eyes, the largest military force in galactic history began to assemble. 89 species, 4,000 warships, millions of soldiers, all heading toward one target, Earth. They believed they would win through sheer numbers. They believed human technology had limits. They were about to discover just how wrong they were. The coalition fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 4,000 warships. 89 species united by anger and greed. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Consul Primar Vexthor stood on his command ship's bridge, looking at the blue planet in the distance. "Today we remind the galaxy who is in charge," Vexthor announced to his coalition. "Attack." 4,000 ships moved forward as one massive wave. Their weapons charged, their shields activated. They expected resistance. They expected Earth's defensive grid to try stopping them. They expected a fight. What they got was something else entirely. On Earth, Admiral Bo stood in the command center with her senior officers around her. General Key was there. Commander Yun monitored intelligence feeds. Dr. Sung checked his systems one final time. And Engineer Mi, a young woman with nervous hands, prepared to unleash technology the galaxy had never seen. "Coalition fleet is advancing," an officer reported. 4,173 ships confirmed. They are not hiding. They want us to see their numbers. "Let them come," Admiral Bo said calmly. "Activate Protocol Reckoning." All across the solar system, things that had been hidden suddenly revealed themselves. Space itself seemed to shimmer and fold. Ships appeared from nowhere, thousands of ships. Human warships that had been cloaked, invisible, waiting. The coalition fleet stopped advancing. Their sensors were going crazy. Where there had been empty space moments ago, there were now 3,000 human warships, sleek black vessels bristling with weapons that radiated power beyond anything the coalition had ever seen. "Impossible," Vexthor whispered. "Where did they come from?" "Fleetmaster," his tactical officer stammered. "We are detecting massive energy signatures from the human ships. Their power output is 10 times higher than our most advanced vessels. And sir, our weapons are powering down." "What? Why?" "I do not know. It is the same as before. We are losing control of our systems." But this time, Earth was not just disabling ships. This time they were fighting back. Pilot Jin sat in the cockpit of her fighter craft, hands dancing across the controls. She grinned as her squadron of 50 fighters screamed toward the Coalition fleet. "All units, this is Phoenix Leader. Time to show these aliens why Earth builds the best pilots. Break and attack." The human fighters moved through space like nothing the Coalition had ever seen. They dodged incoming fire with impossible precision. They weaved between capital ships, too fast for tracking systems to follow. They fired weapons that punched through shields like paper. "How are they moving like that?" a Coalition captain screamed. "No organic being can handle those acceleration forces." He was right. No unaugmented organic being could handle the forces that human pilots endured. But Engineer Mi had changed that. She had spent 15 years developing the neural interface system that connected human pilots directly to their ships. The pilots did not control their fighters with hands and feet. They controlled them with thought. They moved as one with their machines. Pilot Jin destroyed 3 Coalition cruisers in the first 30 seconds. Her squadron took down 20 more in the first minute. Coalition fleet panicked. They fired wildly, hitting their own ships as often as they hit humans. The human fighters were too fast, too precise, too deadly, but the fighters were just the beginning. Admiral Bo gave her next order. "Capital ships, weapons free. Show them what Earth builds when we know war is coming." The human warships opened fire. Their weapons were not traditional energy beams or missiles. They used gravitational manipulation technology, creating miniature black holes that tore enemy ships apart at the molecular level. They used quantum phase cannons that ignored shields entirely. They used weapons that the Coalition did not even have names for. The battle was not a battle. It was a massacre. And it lasted only 3 days. On the first day, 87% of the Coalition fleet was destroyed. 4,000 ships reduced to 500 in 24 hours. The Coalition tried to retreat, but human ships surrounded them on all sides. There was no escape. Captain Hai led the ground assault teams. She did not wait for the space battle to end. While Admiral Bo fought in orbit, Hai took the war to the enemy homeworlds. Her transport ships jumped directly into Vex Thor's home system, bypassing all defenses. "This is Captain Hai of Earth Defense Command." She broadcast to the planet below. "Your fleet attacked our home. Now we are here. We are not here to harm civilians. We are here to end your government's ability to make war. Do not resist and no one needs to die." The planet's defense forces tried to fight. It was useless. Warrior Cast Huan led the special forces teams that landed in the capital city. He was a large man with scars covering his arms and a reputation for ruthless efficiency. His team moved through the city like ghosts. They disabled defense platforms. They shut down communications. They did it all without killing a single civilian. By the second day, the Coalition had lost 93% of its fleet. Hundreds of planets were under human occupation. Not invasion, occupation. Human forces did not destroy cities. They did not harm populations. They simply removed the leadership that had started the war. On the third day, Warrior Cast Huan found Vex Thor hiding in a bunker deep beneath his palace. The former Consul Primer was alone, his guards having fled or surrendered. Huan stood over him with his weapon lowered. "It is over," Huan said. "You lost." Vex Thor looked up at the human soldier with disbelief in his eyes. "We had 4,000 ships." 4,000. "How did you defeat us so completely?" "Because you did not understand what you were facing," Huan replied. "You thought Earth was primitive because we only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. You assumed we were weak because we asked for peace. You made the mistake of thinking mercy was the same as weakness." He gestured for Vex Thor to stand. "You are under arrest for war crimes. You will stand trial. You will face justice. But you will live. We are not monsters like you are." The Coalition surrendered on the third day. Of the 4,173 ships that had attacked Earth, only 217 remained intact. Tens of thousands of crew members were captured. 89 homeworlds were occupied by human peacekeeping forces. Back on Earth, Admiral Bo addressed the galaxy. Her broadcast reached every planet, every station, every ship. "The war is over," she announced. The Coalition attacked Earth with the largest military force in galactic history. They believed their numbers would overwhelm us. They were wrong. She paused, looking directly into the camera. "We did not want this war. We warned you. Multiple times. We asked only to be left alone. You chose violence. You chose aggression. And now you face the consequences. However, she continued, we are not conquerors. We are not genocidal. We are not monsters. Every species that attacked us will face consequences, but those consequences will be measured and just. You will be demilitarized. Your governments will be reformed. You will be prevented from starting wars again. But your people will live. Your cultures will survive. Your civilizations will continue, she leaned forward. And for those species that did not join the coalition, for those like High Counselor Dren who voted against attacking Earth, you have nothing to fear. We remember our friends. We will protect them as we protect ourselves. The broadcast ended. The galaxy sat in stunned silence. Humanity had fought the largest war in history and won in 3 days. They had shown mercy to those who showed them none. They had proven they were not just warriors. They were something more dangerous. They were warriors who fought only when necessary, and who showed restraint even in total victory. High Counselor Dren watched the broadcast from his homeworld. His aide stood beside him, still trying to process what had happened. How did they do it? The aide asked. How did one species defeat 89? Because they prepared, Dren replied. For 50 years, while we thought they were exploring and learning, they were building and planning. They knew this day would come. They knew someone would attack them. So they prepared for the worst and hoped for the best. What happens now? Now, Dren said, the galaxy changes. The old order is gone. The Consul is finished. Humanity did not want to lead, but they are the only ones strong enough to keep peace. They warned us. We did not listen, and now we must all live in the world our arrogance created. Captain High stood on Vex Thor's homeworld, watching human soldiers help rebuild what the war had damaged. She had fought in dozens of battles. She had seen death and destruction. But this felt different. They had won completely, but they were not celebrating. They were working to heal what they had been forced to break. Do you think they learned? A soldier asked her. High looked at the alien civilians watching nervously from their homes. Some of them, she replied. The rest will need time. But they will learn, because humanity is not going anywhere. We are here. We are strong, and we will protect the weak from predators like Vex Thor. Even if the weak attacked us first? Especially then, High said, because that is what separates us from them. We can be brutal when necessary, but we choose mercy when possible. That is what makes us human. The war was over. Humanity had won, and now came the harder part. Building peace. 6 months had passed since the 3-day war. The old Galactic Consul had collapsed completely. 847 species that had governed the galaxy for millions of years could not survive the shock of being defeated by one young civilization. Now something new was being born. Earth's United Nations headquarters in New York City had been transformed. The building had been expanded to accommodate representatives from across the galaxy. Today, the first meeting of the new Galactic Assembly would take place. 612 species had agreed to attend. 235 had refused, choosing isolation over cooperation with humanity. Ambassador Tay stood at the entrance, greeting representatives as they arrived. He wore the same simple black suit he always wore. Some of the aliens looked nervous. Others looked angry. A few looked hopeful. All of them looked at Tay with new respect. He was no longer the representative of a primitive species. He was the man who had warned them, the man who had been right. High Counselor Dren arrived early. The ancient being moved slowly, his 3,000 years weighing heavily on him, but his eyes were clear and alert. He embraced Tay in the traditional greeting of his species. Thank you for coming, Tay said warmly. I would not miss this for anything, Dren replied. This is the most important day in galactic history. The day we finally learn to live in peace whether we want to or not. They walked together into the assembly hall. It was enormous, with seating for thousands. The room was designed to accommodate the wildly different biologies of the attending species. Some needed water environments. Others needed low gravity. Some breathed methane instead of oxygen. Human engineers had built a space where all of them could exist together. President A of Earth stepped to the central podium. She was a young woman with kind eyes and a firm voice. She had been elected specifically to lead Earth through this new era. She looked out at the assembled species and began to speak. Welcome, President A said. Welcome to Earth. Welcome to the first meeting of the new Galactic Assembly. We are gathered here today not because humanity demanded it, but because the old system failed. The consul became corrupt. It became a tool of the powerful to exploit the weak. It started wars. It allowed slavery. It permitted genocide. That era is over. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity did not want this responsibility. We wanted to be left alone. We wanted to explore the galaxy, to learn, to grow, but you would not allow it. You attacked us. You forced us to fight. And when we won, you left us with a choice. We could become conquerors, or we could become something better. We chose to be better. Ambassador Tay stepped forward. The assembly grew quiet. Everyone remembered his warnings. Everyone remembered how right he had been. I am Ambassador Tay, he said, the Galactic Secretary General of this new assembly. I did not seek this position. None of us in Earth's delegation did. But leadership is not always about what we want. Sometimes it is about what is needed. The new Galactic Assembly will operate on different principles than the old consul, Tay continued. First, no species may attack, enslave, or genocide another species for any reason. This is not negotiable. Any violation will be met with intervention by the peacekeeping forces. Captain High stood at the back of the room wearing her peacekeeping uniform. Around her stood representatives from 400 different species. The Galactic Peacekeeping Force was not just human. It was volunteers from across the galaxy, species that wanted to prevent war rather than cause it. Second, Tay continued, all species have equal representation in the assembly. One species, one vote. It does not matter how old your civilization is or how advanced your technology is. Everyone has equal voice. This caused murmuring among the older species. They were used to dominating younger civilizations. But they were in no position to argue. Earth held all the power now. Third, Tay said, humanity will share our technology, not our weapons, but our medical advances, our agricultural techniques, our educational systems. We will help all species that want to improve their quality of life. We will not hoard knowledge, Dr. Sung stepped forward. He looked much happier than he had during the war. I am Dr. Sung, Chief Science Officer for Earth. For the past 6 months, I have been working with scientists from 237 different species. Together, we have created new technologies that benefit everyone. Better food production, better medicine, better environmental restoration. This is what cooperation can achieve. A holographic display showed some of these achievements. Planets that had been polluted were now clean. Species that had been dying from disease were now healthy. Worlds that had suffered from famine now had plenty. This is our vision, Dr. Sung said. A galaxy where every species can thrive, where no one starves, where no one dies from preventable disease, where everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential. The assembly began to applaud, slowly at first, then building. Species that had been enemies for millions of years found themselves clapping together. It was a strange feeling, but it felt right. Then the doors opened. Guards escorted Vexthor into the room. The former Consul Primar wore simple prison clothes. His scales looked dull. His eyes looked tired. He walked to a designated area, standing alone before the assembly. Former Consul Primar Vexthor, President AA announced, you have been found guilty of war crimes by a tribunal of 312 judges from different species. You started a war that killed millions. You ordered attacks on civilian targets. You refused peace even when offered repeatedly. Do you have anything to say before sentencing? Vexthor looked around the room. He saw species that had once feared him now looking at him with pity or disgust. He saw humans who could have executed him but chose to give him a trial. He saw the future he had tried to prevent. A future where his power meant nothing. I have nothing to say, Vexthor said quietly. I was wrong. I underestimated humanity. I let pride cloud my judgment. I caused suffering because I refused to accept change. I deserve whatever punishment you give me. President A nodded. You will not be executed. You will not be tortured. You will spend the rest of your natural life serving humanitarian missions on war-torn worlds. You will help rebuild what you helped destroy. You will save lives to balance the lives you ended. You will live to see the peace you tried to prevent. This is your sentence. Guards led Vexthor away. He did not resist. He did not argue. He simply accepted his fate. The assembly watched him go in silence. High Counselor Dren stood to address the assembly. His voice was old and wise. I have lived for 3,000 years, he said. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have seen wars that lasted centuries. I have seen hatred that seemed eternal. Today I see something I thought impossible. I see hope. He turned to the human delegation. Humanity is young. Compared to most species here, they are children. But they understand something that took many of us millions of years to learn. Mercy is not weakness. Peace is not surrender. Strength is not about domination. It is about protection. They warned us, Dren continued. They said, do not attack Earth. They said it clearly. They said it politely. They said it firmly. We did not listen. We attacked anyway. And when they defeated us, when they had the power to destroy us all, they chose to save us instead. That is the kind of leadership the galaxy needs. The assembly rose in a standing ovation. Even species that had fought against Earth stood and applauded. They understood now. Humanity had not wanted power. They had wanted peace. But when forced to fight, they fought completely. And when they won, they showed the mercy that their enemies had denied them. Commander Yun monitored security from his station. His screen showed celebrations breaking out across the galaxy. Species that had been enemies were now talking. Trade routes that had been closed were reopening. The galaxy was healing. Do you think it will last? An assistant asked him. Commander Yun thought for a moment. Some species will always choose violence. Some will always try to dominate others. But now they know there is a cost. They know that humanity and our allies will stop them. Will it be perfect? No. Will there still be conflicts? Yes, but it will be better than it was. That is all we can ask for. Ambassador Tay walked onto a balcony overlooking New York City. Captain Hai joined him. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the sun set over Earth. Below them, alien representatives walked through the streets with human guides, learning about Earth culture. We did it, I said quietly. We actually did it, did we? Tay asked. Or did they force us to do it? Does it matter? The result is the same. The galaxy has peace. Not perfect peace, but better than before. Tay nodded. I keep thinking about the moment in the consul chamber. When I warned them, I remember hoping they would listen. Hoping we would not have to fight. But we did have to fight, Hai said. And we won. And we showed mercy. That combination is what makes this work. They know we can defeat them. But they also know we will not destroy them if they cooperate. Fear and hope. Both are necessary. Do you think they have learned? Tay asked. Some have, Hai replied. The rest will learn eventually. Or they will isolate themselves and become irrelevant. Either way, the galaxy moves forward. Inside the assembly hall, the first votes were being taken. New laws, new protections, new systems of justice and cooperation. It was messy. It was complicated. Arguments broke out. Compromises were made. But it was working. President AA watched it all with satisfaction. This was not the world she had expected to live in. But it was the world humanity had created through strength and mercy. She thought about all the warnings humanity had given, about all the times they had asked to be left alone, about how the galaxy had forced them to become something they never wanted to be. But perhaps, she thought, this was always humanity's destiny. To be the ones who said enough, to be the ones who stopped the cycle of violence, to be the ones who proved that the strong could protect the weak instead of exploiting them. The assembly continued late into the night. Species from across the galaxy talked and debated and planned. They built the framework for a new future, a future where humanity's warning had become reality. Do not attack Earth, do not threaten peace. Do not repeat the mistakes of the past, and if they did, humanity would be there. Not as conquerors, not as tyrants, but as the guardians who had been forged in the fire of war and tempered by the choice of mercy. The species that had warned the galaxy and then saved it anyway. Ambassador Tay returned to the assembly hall. He had work to do. The galaxy was not going to govern itself, but as he walked, he allowed himself a small smile. They had been warned. They had not listened. And humanity had done what it always did. They adapted. They overcame. They survived. And then they built something better from the ruins. That was the human way. That was the warning the galaxy should have heeded. Not because humans were violent, but because humans were human. Predators who chose to be civilized. Warriors who chose to protect. Conquerors who chose to serve. That was humanity's true strength. And now the galaxy would benefit from it whether they wanted to or not. The warning had been given. The lesson had been taught. Now came the era of peace. Built by humans. Maintained by humans. Shared with all who chose cooperation over conquest. The galaxy had been warned. And now finally the galaxy understood.